We start with a Fox News alert. Search crews are returning to the Potomac River this morning to look for more aircraft components after the deadly midair collision near Reagan National Airport.
And the NTSB are now working to extract data from the black boxes recovered from the passenger jet.
Mark Meredith is live in the Potomac River and the Potomac Park with the details. Mark.
Brian, Lawrence, and Ainsley, good morning, friends. Investigators say there are a lot of possible causes to this midair collision. At this point, it's simply too early to know for sure what would have led to this crash, and it's likely going to be at least a month before we get a preliminary report. As you mentioned today, we expect divers to return out to the crash site. We had patrol boats out there all night long, keeping an eye on this wreckage, and they're even going to start trying to remove some of this debris. And while we are going to have to wait for that report to know where the investigation is heading, one possible factor they're looking at is whether or not there was adequate staffing at the control tower at Reagan National at the time of the crash. The Associated Press getting a hold of an internal report from the FAA that night, which seemed to suggest there may have been staffing issues. The report saying the position configuration was not normal for this time of day and volume of traffic, indicating that they were looking at whether or not there were enough people there at the time the crash occurred. But we have not, again, heard a definitive answer from the NTSB about that. Flight tracking apps showed the American Airlines regional jet was just between 200 and 400 feet. It was only seconds away from landing and had been coming in from Wichita, Kansas. There are unconfirmed reports that the helicopter involved may have been flying off its approved flight plan, but that's still part of this investigation and nothing confirmed at this point. Overnight, we learned investigators have recovered the black box as well as the cockpit data recorder, voice recorder on board the regional jet American Flight 5342. They're now in a government lab for evaluation. We are already seeing some cancellations at Reagan National for today. Yesterday, there was something like 500 flights canceled. As of this morning at this hour, guys, about 60 flights canceled, but some aircraft are coming in. So things are still getting back to normal, if you will, new and normal here as we learn more about the investigation. No news yet of any news conferences as of this morning, but that could certainly change, and we'll let you know as it does. Ainsley, Lawrence, and Brian?
So, Mark, can you confirm some of the reporting that's been put out there? Apparently, the organization as a whole only has a third of the positions that are filled, and then you had the person that was responsible for getting them in. They were doing two jobs. So is it the fact is that normally there's an air traffic controller that handles the helicopters and one that handles the airplane?
That's correct, Lawrence. That's our understanding, is that normally there would be two different people in that position, so that depending on the time of the evening, it could go down to one position. You know, as the evening goes on, air traffic dwindles, fewer flights are coming and going. Now, D.C. is in an odd spot because we have air traffic from military, we've got security helicopters going through all hours of the day and night. So you're also asking about staffing. I mean, there's been a shortage of air traffic controllers now for years. That's not necessarily a new problem to have, but whether or not there was still the appropriate staffing inside the tower at the time is what they're looking at. And the NTSB was asked point blank about this just yesterday, and they simply said that they have to review the logs, that there is still stuff that they'd have to go back, but they didn't want to say definitively that would be the problem. And likely, and I've heard this from multiple accident investigators, that there's not going to be just one cause, right? It's not just that there was this one issue and that led to something. There was a multitude of likely issues that came up and developed into this situation, as tragic as it is.
The one thing I have not heard, and I could have missed it, I know it's constantly changing, no one is looking at the American airline jet, regional jet, and saying, well, you were at fault.
Right.
I mean, of all the scenarios, I've heard it, not even speculation on that. I felt like they were helpless. They're in the flight path. They're doing what they're told.
About to land.
And then, about to land. I feel as though they were just victims here.
Well, Brian, we also know that that runway that they were directed to, a shorter runway, was a little bit different than the other traffic that had been using there. I mean, these runways here intersect at Reagan National, and so there was a last-minute change to a different runway. Now, so they're going to have to wait definitively to say whether or not that also could have contributed to this. And you're right, we're not necessarily hearing a bunch of people point fingers at the American Airlines regional jet here. We do have some people that are speculating that it is the military aircraft, but it's still speculation, Brian. And as officials said repeatedly, they've got to take time here. They don't want to say this one way or the other, because, of course, if you say they think this now, then that becomes the working theory, and that's how they go off of.
The NTSB says within 30 days, so it'll be quick.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Thanks,
Mark.
Mark.
Yeah, they recovered the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. There was a lawsuit filed last year that alleged that the FAA turned away nearly 1,000 air traffic control applicants solely based on race. Was this a DEI thing? I was watching Sean's show last night, and he was talking about under Obama, the FAA launched a national outreach program for DEI that included a push to hire workers with severe intellectual disabilities and psychiatric problems. Did that come into play here?
I just don't understand how could they be so stupid.
Especially at one of the busiest
One of the
airports.
busiest, and you know, the biggest indicator for me, typically when there is a tragedy, we lose American lives, you know, the tone is more somber. When Sean Duffy went into that press briefing room, he was furious. And I go, Sean knows something that we don't know. And as the reporting has started to come out, how could you have two people doing that job? When you got a helicopter.
One person doing the job.
Exactly, one person doing the job of two people. That makes absolutely, I mean, maybe you can get away with that in the country area where there's not that many planes and air traffic going on there, but it's already a complicated airspace. And you're more focused on diversity than getting the positions filled. That makes no sense.
So I think the CNN just spent all night last night focusing on what Donald Trump came out and said DEI is probably at the root of this, just to paraphrase. And he said, why are you bringing it up now? Well, fundamentally, it might be at the root of this, and this is moving at a breakneck pace. When are they going to get used to the fact that we have a president that says what exactly he's thinking? And he is a leader, but he's saying he also knows a lot about travel. Buys planes, right? He's been flying in planes since 1980s. He actually knows pilots. They become his friends. He's also been in choppers constantly because of the previous focus on Atlantic City coming from New York. And I'm going to add something else. Air traffic control has been a problem since before the pandemic, and then it got worse. How could you be Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and not make that your focus? And now he's upset that Donald Trump called him out and the previous administration out. He was a disaster as a Transportation Secretary. And this has to be the number one. If there's something good to come out of this, you have to get more air traffic controllers. They burn out so quick. It is so stressful.
Well, and when you're on a plane, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. You buy your ticket, you strap in, and you just hope that whoever's running the air traffic control tower is not preoccupied. You hope that every position is filled. Exactly. Because you put your life literally in their hands. And we're not saying that we don't know if this was the problem. There's just a report that
it's just a fundamental problem.
The control tower staffing at Reagan National Airport was not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic.
Washington Post said they had a near miss a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Yes. Didn't they have,
New York Times had a series of them as well.
They had 19 near misses across our country in 2023.